Hi, welcome to Shep Reviews Manga. So I'm Shep. You might know me from a panelist group called Winning the War in Pants. That group does panels at anime conventions up and down the East Coast. And what I'm going to be doing here is obviously I'm going to be reviewing manga and probably consuming copious amounts of alcohol. If you want to know what I'm drinking Glenlivet 12 and Coke. Yes, I know I'm doing something bad by corrupting good scotch with Coke, but it's late. I need the caffeine, and I wanted to drink Glenlivet 12 because the NGE manga actually has a connection to me and my dad, and I inherited this bottle of Glenlivet 12. I inherited this bottle of Glenlivet 12. So that kind of moves into my NGE. Well, Evangelion, this anime, not the manga, was the first anime I watched in full. Yeah, as a kid, I watched Pokemon, and I was really into Digimon, and then I went away from anime for a few years. Actually, throughout the latter end of elementary school and through most of middle school, I was like, I don't watch cartoons, I watch the History Channel. And then the History Channel turned into crap. Anyways, so Ava was the first anime I really got sucked into. And in a lot of ways, it saved my life. When I was first watching Ava, I had a lot of issues with depression. I actually tried to kill myself, but watching Ava, watching Shinji's story Shinji's a whiny bitch, but watch him go through and discover, hey, despite all this crap that's happening, life is worth living. That kind of inspired me to realize life is worth living. Actually, because the manga's been going on so long, I think it only finished in 2016, which, if we go to the title page, the manga happens in, let me try to get this on camera. God damn it, I'm not good at this. Here we go. 2015 is when Evangelion happens. So yeah, it didn't happen until, it didn't get done until after Third Impact in the show. So, yeah. Anyways, it finally got done. I'd pushed off reading it in full for a couple of years, and then, my dad ended up taking his life. Not long after that, as I was trying to recover, because Ava's been one of those things that has gotten me through these things. I just blew through the Evangelion manga in a day. And it really vibed with me, especially the relationship. How bad the relationship between Shinji and his father Gendo is in the manga, because towards the end of his life, I had a horrible relationship with my father. But reading this, in the manga, Shinji and Gendo's relationship is literally the worst. And it made me realize, well, things were bad, but it could have been worse. I at least knew that my father loved me. So I'd like to say Evangelion's my favorite franchise, but it brings up all these all these different feelings, but still, it saved my life. It got me through hard times, both when I was a teenager and now. So, another thing is, there's a lot of differences between the manga and the anime. Even though they follow, step by step, they follow a lot of the same path. But there's a lot of key differences, and we'll actually see that almost immediately. Also, Manga Shinji is likable. Uh, Shinji Ikari in the show is a whiny ass bitch. I mean, if you come to our Evangelion panel, I'll defend him. I'll defend Shinji to the death, except for that thing in End of Evangelion. Manga Shinji, meanwhile, has a backbone. Part of it might be Manga Shinji, we actually get to see his internal monologue. Actually, the first page, and the first intro to the character Shinji Ikari, and in fact to the franchise, is this page right here. And it Shinji pretty much says, "I'm too depressed to do anything. I have no ambitions. It didn't matter if I existed in this world. And when I put that in a school paper, my teacher berated me for taking it seriously." So that actually, my notes are falling down. That actually goes with something Hideki Anno stated while Evangelion was still in pre-production. That's actually included in the U.S. release of the first tankobon, or the first volume. And I'm actually going to go ahead and read this here in a second. So, the manga is done by Yoshiyuki Sadamoto, who is Yoshiyuki Sadamoto. Sorry about that. Who's the character designer on the show, but he was also involved in a lot of the planning. He did the manga, but it was based off what he thought Anno was going to do when they started, and then what the show did. That's why it's different, but it's also hits a lot of the same points. It's someone else telling the story, but it's Sadamoto's telling the story, but at the same time, it's still Anno's story. So, this is a question asked before, this is a response to, a question asked before the premiere of Neon Genesis Evangelion, and the question was, what we're trying to make here. So, it goes like this. The year is 2015. A world where 15 years before, over half the human population perished. A world that has been miraculously revived in a material sense. Production, distribution, and consumption, all in order, so that even the convenience stores' shelves are now full again. A world where people have become accustomed to the resurrection, yet still feel the end of the world awaits them. A world with few children left to lead it into any future. A world where Japan saw the original Tokyo destroyed, discarded, and forgotten. A new capital, Tokyo 2, was built in the Nagano prefecture and left as a decoy. While they built another new capital, a third city called Tokyo 3, and tried to make it safe from attack. A world where an entirely unknown entity called the Angels then comes to ravage the cities. This is roughly the worldview of Neon Genesis Evangelion. One drenched in a vision of pessimism, where the story begins only after all traces of hope have been removed. And in that world, a 14-year-old boy shrinks from human contact. And he tries to live in a closed world where his behavior dooms him. And he has abandoned the attempt to understand himself. A cowardly young man who feels his father has abandoned him. And he has so convinced himself that he is a completely unnecessary person, so much that he cannot even commit suicide. There is also a woman, 29, who lives life so lightly as to barely allow the possibility of human touch. She protects herself by keeping relationships on the surface and by running away. Both are greatly afraid of being hurt. Both people are unsuitable. They lack that positive attitude to be what others would call heroes of a story. Nevertheless, they're the heroes of this story. They say to live is to change. I started this production with the wish that once production was complete, the world and the heroes would change. This was my true desire. I try to include everything of myself in Neon Genesis Evangelion. Myself, a broken man who could do nothing for 4 years, a man who ran away for 4 years, one who was simply not dead. And then one thought, you can't run away, came to me, and I returned to this production. My only thought in making this was to burn all my feelings into film. I know my behavior was thoughtless, troublesome, and arrogant, but I tried. I don't know what the result will be. I don't know what will happen to Shinji, Misato, or Rei. I don't know where life will take them. Because I don't know where life is taking the staff of this production. I feel I am being irresponsible, but it's only natural that we should synchronize ourselves with the world within this production. I've taken a risk. It's just an imitation, and for now, this is all I can write to explain. But perhaps our original lies somewhere within there. And then there's a postscript. By the way, I took Shinji's name from a friend of mine. Ritsuko's was from another friend in middle school. Misato's comes from the hero of a manga. I borrowed from everywhere. Even the names that have no bearing on anything actually come from the countless rules that govern these things. It might be fun if someone with a little free time could research them. Research them they have. So yeah, isn't that depressing? Everyone who said, "Oh, this looks like a cool mecha series," you were warned. So where were we? Also, another thing about Anno's influence on the manga is, oh my god, lots of military influence. Anno, among all the other things he's an otaku of, is a military otaku. So, who goes to oppose the Angels first? Very realistic patent tanks. There's actually a lot of actual real-life military equipment that they show in the first episode of the anime, but Yoshiki Sadamoto does take, even though that patent tanks, even by 1995, were relatively ancient. Effective, but ancient. It's still, Sadamoto does make things a little bit more futuristic. Another thing, this is the original design for the, Central Dogma, the headquarters. Let's see if I can get it. That looks like the superstructure of a battleship. And Anno loves ships. One of the meanings of Ikari can be anchor. Rei Ayanami, her last name's a destroyer. Asuka Langley Soryu, that's Asuka, American carrier, Japanese carrier. Ritsuko Akagi, another carrier. Everybody's named after some sort of warship. Anyways, moving on. As I said before, things change. The manga started before things were finalized, and because things changed early when the manga finished, much later, things continue to change. But this actually came out more than a month before the first episode premiered, the Tankobon. So it was serialized. The chapters were serialized before then in a magazine. So starting in '94, I believe. So to kind of introduce the public into this is something that's coming out, which is common. So but they still had, even in the middle of production, things were changing with where the series was going on a daily basis. This actually explains what happened with the ending of the original series. But one of the first things that you can see that changes is, if you're familiar with the series, Rei is already injured. And they explain that Rei was injured in a test about a month or two before the series began. Not here. Here, when the angel almost attacks Shinji, and Misato saves him. Then an angel almost attacked. The angel almost attacks them again, and Unit 1 comes to save the day. But Rei gets hurt in her process. Which makes the, why didn't Rei just stay in there until the angel was defeated? Well, we need to get Shinji in the robot somehow. Even if he doesn't want to. Let's see what else changes. And something that's actually a little bit of, kind of a mirror image of that, just as Rei saves Shinji and Misato, later on, instead of when the things that, the Evangelion isn't exactly an autonomous robot in the series, Eve actually moves its arm to save Shinji. And that's your first clue that, hey, it's Shinji's mom in there. Spoiler alert if you haven't seen the series, but this is also an over 20-year-old show at this point, so I don't feel bad. Where is it? Come on. Oh, here we go. Yeah, instead of Eva 1 saving Shinji, when the ceiling starts to fall down, Shinji goes running to... Come on, let's get this on camera. I'm not good. The first time not doing this. Shinji goes and saves Rei. And that's when Gendo... That's when Gendo's playing the, we'll just send this broken doll out to defend humanity if you won't get in. Another thing with the manga is the character thoughts are more apparent. As we saw earlier, we got a lot of thought boxes that show Shinji's internal monologue. And yeah, we get all of the all of the depression, but we also get a lot as Shinji goes through as we see Shinji's internal thoughts. Shinji has a little bit more of a backbone. In other volume, this is just a review of Volume 1, but in other volumes, Shinji's a snarky little motherfucker. Here it's more like, I really don't want to be here, but I'm going to do this anyway. In fact, at one point, when instead of just calling Shinji useless, I think the note is, where is it? Here we go. Gendo, during that entire scene, straight up calls Shinji a coward. Then later on, when Shinji actually does get in the damn robot, we get, my father never needed me. Right now he's built a robot that needs me. Some joke. Right, it doesn't make any sense. But so what? I am not afraid to die, and I will not let my father call me a coward. This is not the same Shinji Ikari we saw in the series. Moving on. Other characters also remote. We see a lot more of Rei emoting. We also see Misato have a little bit of a breakdown. Misato actually gets PTSD flashbacks during the N2 bombing in the manga, which she doesn't necessarily get. Well, she might have gotten them during the anime, but instead we get fan service and shots of Misato's ass because Hideki Anno is one of us. Another thing is with the manga is there's more psychological themes up front. During planning of the series, Sadamoto was the one to suggest the injection of all these psychological themes. And as an example, I'm just going to go ahead and read. They actually included an excerpt from Sadamoto on like where the name for the hair clips that the pilots wear, the A10 clips. He actually explains that that's based off actual psychology and medicine. Um, he states, on the floor of the midbrain is the ventral tegmental system that neurobiologists call the region A10, cells soaked in dopamine. Certain emotions are processed here, such as the thoughts of two lovers, or of a parent and a child. And it's the synchronization of the threads and bundles of A10 that splice Pilot and Ava together to become one entity, to fight. In other words, the power of love drives this weapon of mass destruction. Well, what a simple and corny and emotional and wonderful story. I wonder, would I be able to pilot these same Evangelions that I draw? It would go berserk then. So, Sadamoto was the one to inject all of that into the series. And because of that, in the manga, we get the psychological bullshit that you see a lot more later on in the series. We get that early and often. So, actually have this note as the psychological BS begins. So, starting with chapter 4 or chapter 5 or stage 5 in the manga, we already get the Shinji floating in space. We actually get the first. This looks a lot familiar for those who have seen the later parts of the series. So I think that's almost. I think they actually show that when Shinji gets sucked into Ava 1 later in the series. But of course, we get it goes wrong. This is instead of showing all this, they just show in the series they just show Ava 1's reflection with the eyeball staring back. And that's when Shinji freaks out that, oh, I'm the robot after all. And this is where Ava 1 reactivates. This is also where we also get first clue that that the Ava isn't just its own machine, because they refer to Evangelion as a she. They assign it a gender. This is kind of the first clue that, oh, Yui's in there. Later on we get trippy dream as Shinji dreaming of the battle, but he's the mech. I think just partially like Sadamoto going all in on the psychological angle to this story, and partially there's a difference between the written format, even if it's manga, even if it's a comic or manga, even if it's drawn. There's a difference between print, a performance, even if it's drawn like anime. And so you have to, because they're two different ways of under two different mediums, you have to tell the story a little bit different. Probably the next major point is the art style. It feels grittier but more futuristic than the anime. In fact, it kind of has a style similar to that of the original Ghost in the Shell. This is partly a product of the time. A lot of 90s shows that are set in the future look like this. A lot of 90s anime, a lot of 90s manga that are set in the future look like this. And it's actually, even though it's the same series, with a lot of the same staff, the same franchise with a lot of the same staff, using existing character designs, going from the manga, and then going straight into the Rebuild films, especially Rebuild 3, it's almost jarring how different they look. Like, it's still definitely the same characters, but they all look different because the art style is completely different. And it's also different when you go, like, still manga, but you go to something made in a different time. Same manga, still manga, still same franchise, but it's definitely jarring when you go to something made in a different time in a different genre. Like going from the original NG manga to something like NG Angelic Days is also really jarring. That said, I really like the art style. Um, so I made a lot more notes, but I think this is a good spot to wrap it up. It's kind of not fair giving this a review because it's the first volume of my favorite manga, but I'll give it a 4 out of 5. It's a solid intro to the entire franchise. Um, yeah, things are different between it and the series, but they hadn't finalized things yet, and characterizations are a little bit off compared to the series, but it's a good solid introduction. And I actually recommend that people read the manga first before the anime now. Even though for a while you couldn't do that because the manga wasn't finished. Seriously, Sadamoto would just take years off from the manga and then return to it. When I imagine what it's like following the Berserk manga, I go back to like even I got into the series. I got into the franchise in 2006, and as soon as I finished the anime, which because I'm a dumbass, I marathoned it my first way through, and it was anyway. Anyways, I almost immediately picked up the first couple volumes of the manga, and I was upset. Like, what do you mean it's not finished yet? And that's when I went away from it. And then I would like read up on Evangelion news, like, oh, Rebuild's coming out. Oh, they just released another chapter for the manga, and now it's on hiatus again. Fun. Okay, so yeah, I'm gonna give it a 4 out of 5. I want to turn this into a series, but I don't know when the next time I'm gonna be able to do this is because I'm prepping for panels for Zenkai Con. Winning the War on Pants will be presenting there. But I think the next manga I'm going to do is the original Ghost in the Shell manga. Afterwards, I'll probably go ahead and do Ava Volume 2. So I hope everybody enjoyed this. I really hope you check out the Evangelion manga. I don't know if Volume 1 is in print, but I do know the omnibus that includes Volume 1, Volume 2, and Volume 3 are in print, and I think you can get it as an ebook. No, I'm definitely sure you can get it as an ebook through Amazon, because I have it on Amazon. Anyways, so, hopefully you enjoyed this. Sorry for the potato video quality. I'm doing this on a potato computer. Hopefully that'll change here soon. We're just getting started, but I'll be doing this more, so make sure to like and subscribe. Alrighty, this is Shep signing off.